That year, my life changed forever. Looking back, I wish a lot had happened differently. Johnny'd still be here. It all came crashing down like a house of cards, and it seemed like they were falling all around us. I can't say for sure what really got everything all turned on its head. I wish I knew why everything happened. I wish I could jump back in time and know exactly what started it all. But I knew that things were never going to be the same after that point. A lot of people felt it. A huge shift. I can only tell the story from my perspective. Those who get it, get it. I found myself thinking a lot about a girl at school while I was working in the garage. She's Brian's sister, and I didn't talk to her very much because of that. He didn't want anyone talking to his sister, let alone me, even though I am not as bad as most of the guys at that school. I did have respect for her. I still do, even after everything. All of this led up to what happened, and this is my first time talking about it. I've thought about it a billion times, and I still have a hard time believing it. But some time has passed, and it's made it easier telling the story. That day wasn't the start of it all. That is when things started turning in that direction. It was early afternoon when Johnny called and told me to meet him at the gas station. We got there close to the same time. He pulled up in his pickup truck and I hopped in. He tossed a pack of smokes on the dash as he turned the corner to pull out. I pulled the smoke from the pack and lit it, throwing my head back to the headrest and unwinding now that I was along for the ride. We had some stuff to do. It would take at least a few hours, but there were some cold beers in the garage at the end of it. I didn't have much else to do. Johnny needed my help with the stereos. He and Tony and Brian would take care of the rest. I reached over and turned the stereo on. GNR blasted from the speakers. We passed the bowling alley and some girls from school were hanging out in the front of the building. They waved to us as we passed by. A couple of them were cheerleaders. They had lockers close to mine. I sometimes caught them looking at me. They sometimes caught me looking at them. On the corner was the town ice cream shop. A girl who sat in my math class worked there. Her name was Cheryl. People called her Cherry because of her red hair. She was really pretty and studied with me sometimes. There were a few guys who got jealous, but I doubt I was her type. She was very kind and smart. Too smart for me. She was the kind of girl that made guys want to be a better person. I respected her though. Pulled up to the garage and Johnny cut the engine. We got out and closed the doors at the same time. Antonio opened the garage door and we walked into the work area. He closed the door after and looked around to see if anyone had followed us. We didn't allow anyone outside our circle into the garage. There were rooms above the garage where some girls worked and where Johnny stayed, but other than that, it was just the five of us. Brian, Johnny, Antonio, Charlie, and myself. Charlie always made sure the fridge was stocked full of beer and other drinks. He made sure we had whatever we needed. It was his garage. He rented out one of the rooms above the garage to Johnny. I was thinking about renting out one of the rooms, but I had to finish school first. I only had one more semester left to go. I had some hesitancy around leaving Mom alone in the house, but she wasn't home most of the time anyways. Charlie would ask about her sometimes. I think they knew each other before she met my father, but he left after I was born. She had a photo of him, but I had no real memories. Sometimes I wondered who he was, why he left, where he's been all that time. Thought about asking Charlie if he knew anything about the guy, but I didn't. I thought it was a good chance that he did know him and I'd heard something I wish I didn't. I had stereos all set up on the table ready to go for me. I'd fix them up and they'd swap them between cars. They'd do the body work and repaint the cars, do whatever they had to do to get them ready to sell off. We had some buyers who had buyers. It was quite and quick little operation. Money was split between us. Johnny was stashing some up in the safe in his room. He was going to buy himself a motorcycle and hit the mountains. He said I can come along for the ride. I've been on the back with him a few times before. He had wrecked that one. Took a bridge too fast after it rained. I wasn't riding with him that night. Everyone says he's lucky he didn't die. Hey boys, can we finish up in a couple hours tonight? Charlie asked. Made me think he had a date with one of the girls upstairs. It'd take days to do the cars, but a few hours per shift. The less time we were in the garage, the better. Nobody questioned what we did for those hours. They'd start to wonder if we were gone longer. Sure, boss. Whatever we've got left to do, we can do tomorrow, Antonio said. First, I'm gonna have a smoke. Charlie didn't want us smoking in the garage, but there was a room in the back where he allowed us to smoke. Johnny sometimes brought a joint for him and I after we were done. We'd go out around the corner when the other guys were gone. He'd sometimes ask me about the girls at school. That's where he met Brian. Antonio was from another school. Someone Brian knew and told us that he was cool. I was alright with him, but not tight. The only one who ever really got me was Johnny. He was my best friend. How's Mom doing? Charlie asked me. She's okay. She's coming home tonight, I think. I'll tell her you said hi. I was working on a stereo, testing it. I fixed a couple stereos that night, and the guys had one more coat to do on the car. Charlie seemed pleased and disappeared through the door. Antonio picks up his tools and met Brian outside at the side door where Brian parked his car. I joined Johnny in the smoking room at the back for a cigarette. Sometimes we'd play cards up in his room. We grabbed a couple of cold beers from the fridge.